I was an Uber driver. I received a call. I had to go out of town to the Alpharetta area. The road I had to take was 25 miles long. I was driving on the GA 400 highway, which was usually quiet at night. As I moved away from the city center, the roads became desolate. I turned on the radio for music and lit a cigarette. I knew it was wrong, but long trips weren't bearable otherwise. I had driven about 8 miles. The roads looked empty. Just then, I saw a pair of headlights appear out of nowhere. It was as if he had suddenly teleported onto the road. I slowed down to let them pass. There were usually drunk drivers on these roads. I was watching from the rearview mirror. I wondered what they'd do. He passed by me very quickly and uncontrollably. The car was so fast that it hit my left side mirror as it passed. He didn't even stop to apologize. It was a blue old model Jeep. I think it was a Toyota RAV4. If I knew what was going to happen to me, I would cancel the call and return immediately. About 2 miles ahead, I saw a car stopped in the middle of the road. A man was lying on the ground. I think he had an accident. Something caught my attention. This vehicle was the same car that had hit my mirror earlier. I planned to stop to help after passing the car. While passing by the car, my tires burst with a loud noise. I didn't understand what had happened. I guess the glass shards scattered from the crashed car had punctured my tires. Pulled over to the side of the road. While looking in the rearview mirror, something caught my attention. 2 people were hiding behind the car. I felt cold sweat running down my back. I think this was a trap. They thought I would stop as soon as I saw the man. That's why they were hiding behind the car. I pressed the gas pedal quickly, but the car wasn't moving because of the tires. I was very scared. I immediately called the police. I quickly told them everything. My voice was shaking. I told them I was 10 miles ahead on the Georgia Alpharetta highway and that I worried for my life. Just then, I heard a gunshot. The rear window of my car shattered. I got out of the car, terrified. There were barbed wires tangled around my tires. They had burst my tires on purpose. I ran quickly toward the forest on my right. After running about 20-25 yards, I hid behind a tree. I was looking down the road to see if they were following me. Shortly after, the blue Toyota stopped next to my car. They were talking among themselves. "He can't have gone far. If we don't catch him, we're in big trouble." Hearing these words, I ran into the forest. The fear of being caught engulfed my entire body. My head was spinning. I think my blood pressure had dropped. It was hard to see in the dark. I hid behind a thick tree trunk. I was having trouble controlling my breathing. A sound echoed in the forest. "You didn't stop to help an injured man. What kind of person are you? You can't escape us." I couldn't understand what they wanted from me. Why was I in this situation? The sounds were getting closer. My only hope was to hide and wait for the police to arrive. I don't know how they found me. I didn't hear any sound. Suddenly, 3 men appeared beside me. I couldn't resist them. They tied me to a tree. They took my phone, wallet, everything I had. They could take everything. It didn't matter. The only thing that mattered at that moment was my life. One of them said, "You exhausted us a lot. Let's show you what it means not to help an injured man." Hearing those words, I worried for my life. Just then, I heard the sound of sirens. The men panicked and ran away. I shouted, hoping they would hear me. The police arrived 10 minutes later. This incident hadn't only happened to me. The police said they had received similar reports from this area in the past month. These men were calling for Uber rides to lure drivers into this desolate road to steal their valuables. I think they tracked my location from the app. The police couldn't catch the men. They dropped me off at the city center. I still don't know if they've been caught or if they're continuing to harm others. I left work in the evening. I was walking home. I had stayed late at work that day. It was close to 11 p.m. My house was outside the city. I had just moved to America. This is why renting a house near my workplace or buying a car was just a dream for me. That's why I walked 4 miles every day. It was exhausting. I needed this job to make my dreams come true. It was drizzling. I felt cold. Something caught my attention. A sound coming from behind me. I would be lying if I said I wasn't scared. It was normal for me to be afraid because I was in a foreign country. Unfamiliar streets, unfamiliar people. While walking with these thoughts, I heard a sound again. It was coming right from behind me. With a sudden reflex, I looked back. At that moment, I saw him. A man. He was standing under a streetlight. He had a mask on his face and a knife in his hand. I could see clearly, because the knife was shining in the light. I started walking quickly. I immediately called the police. I told them a man with a knife was following me. The teams were on their way. But could they come in time to save me? Whatever happens, I thought. I turned around and looked. There was no one. I thought I was saved. Then I got a message on my phone. The police can't help you. Who are you? What are you saying? I replied. The message that came was exactly this. You can't escape. I started running. When I turned the corner, he was 30 yards in front of me. Whoever was following me knew exactly where I was going. How could this be? I started running in the opposite direction. I felt like my heart was going to stop. It was clear it was a planned follow, because he knew where I was going. This chase lasted for about 10 minutes. Finally, I saw a police car. It stopped right next to me. They had been looking for me. They dropped me off at my house. They said the incident wouldn't continue. They said they receive hundreds of complaints like this every year. But they told me not to use that road for a while on my way home. I entered my house. I hadn't recovered from the shock of what had happened. I locked the door. What the police said seemed logical at that moment. Because who would want to kill me? I hadn't harmed anyone. I had only just moved to the US, but I was wrong. The nightmare continued where it left off. Another message came. A photo of my house and a note under it. You can't escape me that easily. At that moment, the lights went out. I took out my phone to call the police, but my battery was dead. I plugged my phone into the charger. There was no electricity. In fear, I pulled back the curtain and looked outside. The street was empty. The strange thing was, only my house had no electricity. The neighbors' lights were on. At that moment, I realized that I had gotten into big trouble. The doorbell rang. I wasn't stupid enough to open the door. I had to find a solution. Could it be my neighbor ringing the bell? I thought. I looked outside the window, but no one was there. It was him who rang the bell. I'm sure of it. I waited in front of the window. Maybe someone would pass by and I could ask for help, I thought. No one passed. I swore to myself I would never rent a house in such a desolate neighborhood again. I opened the window. I screamed for help. But no one answered my call for help. While I was thinking about what to do, the door opened. I immediately locked myself in the room. I kept screaming for help from the window. Help! I heard noises coming from the door of my room, a scraping sound. I think he was scraping his knife on my door. That night, I thought I was going to die. Suddenly, siren sounds echoed throughout the neighborhood. I think my neighbors had heard my call for help. The police searched the whole house, but the man was gone. I went to the police station to give a statement. I spent the night in a hotel. I moved out of my house. I changed my number. I'm very afraid that he will find me again.